Villa, it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, Villa fans, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. And what is a hard post-match podcast to do, not because of the way Aston Villa played, but just because of that last goal in the 92nd minute. A goal that has completely changed the, I suppose, the energy levels of this podcast. A goal that has completely changed the outlook into the second leg, albeit that it is not over. But a goal that, how would I say, a goal that has the Parisian team feeling really, really good about progression to play either Arsenal or Real Madrid in the next in the next leg. And while there is two legs to be played in this, and we do have to bring them back to Villa Park, and there is nobody that should think the Villa can't score two goals at Villa Park. The mountain is harder to climb, but climb the mountain they must if they are to get past PSG. And we knew we were going to go to the Parc des Princes today, and we knew we were going to be passed off the field, or that possession was going to be at a premium. I thought from a defensive structure, Aston Villa were really, really good tonight. Yeah, look, we're 2 minutes into the podcast, and I think it's still fair enough to mention that you know, our backline did look weaker without Matty Cash in it when the change was made. And I understand why the change was made. I'm not saying that the change shouldn't be made, but a team like PSG, who've got wingers of the caliber that they do, and wing backs, I suppose, really full-backs of the caliber that they do, considering it's Mendes that scored the last goal. You know, when we made a change at the full-back position, we brought somebody in that probably didn't have the nimbleness of a Matty Cash. It showed when Kashvelia got around him and pummeled it into the top corner. So, but there's a lot of context from this game. I think Villa did absolutely tons well in this game. I think their structure was really good. The way they like everyone said, oh, you've to stifle them in midfield. We let them play it around, probably 5 yards further back than they wanted to play it around in midfield. I thought it was really, really good. I thought our midfield structure was super. Our midfield spacing was excellent. Boubacar Kamara again just showed how good of a player he is. Just superb. Marshalled midfield, got back into defence as well. Thought Ezri Konsa was really, really good tonight. And I think, you know, and I'm sure that there will be a lot of non-Aston Villa fans that will be watching this podcast, coming to gloat, coming to tell us that you know, Villa are finished or whatever, because that's what happens when teams probably, you know, go further in a competition than they should. But the reality of the situation is that the first two goals that PSG scored were absolute wonder goals. Absolute wonder goals. There's arguments to be made that both of those players hit that ball and haven't a clue where they're going. Both of them going after one goes in off the crossbar, one goes in off the post. But you have to have the confidence to hit the ball. You know, Villa players score those, we would be turning around and be saying, oh, we meant every inch of it. But realistically speaking, deep down in your heart and soul, you know, have to have the confidence to hit the ball and expect it to go into the back of the net. And both of those players did that. And there were two worldies, two absolute worldies to gain a 2-1 advantage. Villa's goal was way better worked. Super well worked goal. The goal Morgan Rogers scored. A very, very much so. I think I might actually be wearing a cast for my wedding at this rate, because I got so excited. I punched the table here in front of me, and my baby finger and my ring, well, it's on my right hand, so it's not going to be my ring finger, but my ring finger on my right hand and my middle finger on my right hand are quite sore right now. Let's just put it that way. But that's why the tenor and the energy of the podcast today is a bit lower, because that last goal wasn't a worldie, and it was one that for 91 minutes and 30 whatever seconds we had stopped PSG from doing. and we needed to hold out for another 1 minute and another 90 seconds, and we didn't. And that's why kind of just the energy is a bit lower. Still no less proud of what this Aston Villa team is. I still very much think that Aston Villa can go out there and potentially get to like do you want to bet against us? You know, that's what I would say. And I know it's very much cliche, but PSG are a brilliant team. But if, you know, an early goal against PSG at Villa Park, and who knows? It's not a given. It's a huge task, but you know, you have to look at huge tasks to complete them. You know, you have to want to complete huge tasks to complete them. And by all means, we'll probably be 20-1, 50-1 to win this game or to progress in this tie. But we've got a puncher's chance. And we would have had a better puncher's chance if we were 2-1 down, but we're not, and we're 3-1 down. And I think some of the players will feel a bit sorry for themselves. But they've got only 6 days to feel sorry for themselves to get back up on the horse again. You've also got Southampton at the weekend, so you know, brush that off, put it down to experience and move on. It's a difficult enough game to dissect in a lot of ways, and the reason for that is because we were under the cosh for so long, playing our harkening back to our 2023 formation of 6 at the back. Boubacar Kamara stepping in to become a centre half. At times, though, in the first half, we had Luka Dean coming inside and Jacob Ramsey ending up as a left back. I'm okay with that. You know, horses for courses. You have to play the game that's put in front of you, and I think Villa did well from that point of view. Limited them to a couple of shots from long range in the first half, namely the goal that they scored, which is an absolute worldie. I will say that Matty Cash's yellow card. Where are my claret glasses? I don't have claret colored glasses, but I do have glasses here. I'm going to say that Matty Cash's yellow card, in hindsight, maybe was a pivotal part of the game. And might have been a piece of the game, a part of the game that might have changed it, because you don't take Matty Cash off. I think that potentially you don't concede that second goal. And yes, I know he gets a hand on him in the first instance, but he wins the ball clearly. I think it's just trying to outmuscle somebody. Look, I can accept an argument either way. I can accept. I know they're not claret glasses, but I can accept that I've got claret glasses on in this instance here. Talking about that, but there were other similar fouls to that nature in the game today that didn't even warrant freeze. And I just think that had a big bearing on it. It's not an excuse, it's context, is what I'm saying. I think Villa dealt with an awful lot of the balls that were put into our box very well. Look, I'm going to say Emi Martinez talks a big game. He intentionally goes out to rile up players and rile up fan bases and stuff like that. I thought he had a super game tonight. I thought he played really, really well. I thought that our back four were our back six were so disciplined. One of the most I suppose notable pieces of discipline I think I saw in the field today about how our discipline structure was. There was a lot of times that the players were moving on towards John McGinn, looking to engage him into coming through the back of them as balls were played in, and he never bitten it. He would not bite on it. He was only there to take the ball if you left your body position open. But if you were closing your body position, he wasn't getting involved in you. Even if you moved to him, turned and had the ball played to you, he wasn't getting involved in you. Sometimes that might look like laziness. Sometimes that might look like you're playing like you're not tuned in. But what it is was he was obviously told that these guys are going to try and bait you in there to try and move you here. They obviously knew that he's an energy type player. He's going to make up yards on you. If that ball goes left or right of him, and he didn't fall for it. And one of the biggest areas proponents of that is when he pulled out to the side and took that pass and then started the move for the goal that we scored. Some great work by him, some great work by the team. And that's all part of the growth arc for this team. You know, we've not, I know we conceded 3 goals, But the context, once again, for those who've just joined, because there's about 300 people who've just lumped into the stream there. For those who've just joined, like the 2 goals that they scored to make it 2-1, I'm okay with them scoring those goals because they are outlier goals. They were worldies. As I still to this, I would still contend with about 20% or 30% of seriousness that both of those players are kick those balls and hit and hope. And you need to do that. You need to have the confidence to do that, not taking anything away from them. They were worldies. They needed to score worldies against us. The deflating part is the goal at the end, because 92nd minute, you're so close to coming back with only a 1-goal deficit, and now you have a 2-goal deficit out of nowhere. And I hope that doesn't shell shock the team. Hope that doesn't put a sour taste on the bus back to the hotel, or the bus back to Charles de Gaulle, or whatever's happening tonight. And I don't think it will. But the better team won tonight. PSG were every inch of the team that everybody told us they were tonight. They passed the ball around assuredly. We did not test their centre halves, and the one time we did, both of their centre halves were in no man's land or in no position to protect the ball coming across. We executed our goal brilliantly. It was probably one of only 2 chances I think that we had tonight to do so. But let's call it 50% of the chances that we worked, we got right. I'm hoping we go to Villa Park, we put a test, and I know we're going to have Marquinhos back, but you test those 2 centre halves. Like Braldo doesn't know he's in the game today. Pasha doesn't know he was in the game today. It wasn't Rashford's job to tackle them and tussle with them and throw his weight around with them or anything like that. It was his job to get in behind them if the opportunity rarely said, and it did for our goal. He got out to the left hand side. Villa Park is going to be raucous next Tuesday night, regardless. It would have been absolutely powder keg stuff if we were 2-1 down, and it's still going to be raucous at 3-1 down. But as I say, I can't sit here and lie to everybody and say that I'm as ecstatic as I would be or as happy as I would be if we were 2-0 down, or 2-1 down, should I say, when we're 3-1 down. Because that last goal is a bit of a deflation. Doesn't mean the tie is over, but it's just exactly at 7 minutes past 10 on the 9th of April, just after the game, the game finishing. It is a bit of a kick in the nuts, that last goal. It is a bit of a kick in the nuts. I'm going to come to some of your. Whoa! I'm seeing people say that Kamara was bad tonight. Didn't watch the same game as that. Not saying that you guys are wrong. Fan however you want. You have the confidence to say it. I have the confidence to say it back that I didn't think Kamara was brutal tonight. But I've seen about 4 people put in that Kamara was poor tonight. That's okay. If you guys want to think that, you can. I don't. I disagree. Pete Tandy actually just randomly happened to see this cash booking changed the game. No PSG player booked. I don't think PSG did anything to get booked. And I like, as I said, that cash booking. I actually said that before I even saw the comment. The cash booking, I can see why he got booked. Absolutely, you know, there was clear green space and our centre half had lost the ball, and it was Konza that got cash booked. Konza loses the ball, Cash comes back, but Cash actually wins the ball. And I know there was initially a hand that went out, but Cash wins the ball after that. And you know, look, I can see why he's booked. You're going to get booked in European football like that, and it does. We can look back and say ifs and buts or candy and nuts and all that kind of shit, but it does kind of. You know, you do kind of think that if Cash was still on the field for the first 15, 20 minutes and then the substitution was made in the second half, who's to say it would have been different? And the only reason we can say that is because Sassy was turned inside out for their goal, which happened on the 49th minute. They scored on the 39th minute, I think it was. They scored on the 49th minute. 5 minutes or 6 minutes either side of half time, we were vulnerable, and that's when they caught us. With 2 worldies. Who's to say that he doesn't do that? The Carvacelia, or however you pronounce it, doesn't do that to Cash and bang it in the top corner. it's as I say, they were a fantastic team, but I thought Villa were really good. I thought Villa were really, really good tonight. Like, you have to look at structure and you have to appreciate it when you're going up against a team like this. If you're thinking that Villa, like if people are thinking that Villa weren't good because they didn't have 45% of possession and didn't pepper our goals, we would all have loved if that was the case. But there are games that go different ways. There are games specifically under Unai Emery where he's comfortable in putting people behind the ball. We've seen that in a lot of big games this season. And unfortunately, we conceded 3 goals. Where else are we? Bennett says PSG have the makings of champions. We just need them to need to stop them. They were monsters tonight. They were, and I think for the best part of the game, once again, context is key. We didn't make mistakes. Myself and Paddy said this, or I said this in the team sheet tantrum. If we're coming away with a 3-0 loss and Villa have made 3 mistakes for their goals, I'll be pissed off. We're coming away with a 3-1 loss and 2 of them were worldies and one of them was just a goal that was scored at an inopportune time that was really well taken from their left back. The goal we scored was the best worked goal of the night. That counts for nothing. Counts for nothing other than we have an away goal in this tie, which also doesn't really count for anything, I think. Where else are we here? I'm just going to scroll down, pick something at random there. UT Varty said, we worked so hard and defended so well. Football can be cruel. This isn't over, though not by any means. It's an early goal at Villa Park. Let's say we have the start like we did against Celtic. 2 goals in the first 5 minutes. Game on. It's unlikely, but it's not completely without question. Kadu says that Martinez could have done better on the first and third goals, I believe. I don't think there's the speed that the speed of the Douay shot is unstoppable. Yeah, it was a bit more central than it looked from one angle than it did in real time. That was serious speed. And the third goal, yeah, look, I'll give you that. I'll give you the third goal. Potentially, yeah, does he go down early and make up Mendez's mind for him? Maybe. But I don't think he was at fault for any of the goals for sure. I don't think he was at fault for any of the goals for sure. But I personally don't think that he was that he could have done better for any of the goals. I think he had a very, very fine game tonight. I think he stopped, but he needed to stop. He clawed one back that was nearly going over the line, and I think he had a very fine game tonight. I think he backed up his mouth and his hat, should I say, in the Parc des Princes from the way that he played tonight. It could have been very easy a situation whereby he lets one squirrel through his legs and rolls into the back of the net, and he gets jeered out of the Parc des Princes. We've seen him do it before, albeit I still think he's the world's number one. I was proud of his performance tonight. I think so for sure. Yeah, Narida says, I think we've conceded more important goals than that, but that one hurt. I was buzzing at 2-1. I thought we were so well organised, and while the commentators are creaming themselves, I thought we were tight and clever. Yeah, I agree. Like 2-1 and 3-1 are 2 very different mindsets, I think. The hope level, the hopium level is at different ends of the scale at 2-1 and 3-1. At 2-1, it's about 3/4 full. At 3-1, it's only about a quarter full, when you're talking about hopium. So, which is understandable, But I think the players will have a half an hour or 2 hour period afterwards where they will think, fuck it, we're 3-1 down. We should have only been 2-1 down. But you can't do anything about it now. The best way to overcome that is to be 2-0 up after 15 minutes at Villa Park and do something that the world doesn't think that you can do. That's what you're gonna have to do. Life is a bitch, You're gonna have to do something that the world doesn't think you can do at Villa Park now. And that doesn't mean that you can't do it. There's been 1,000,001 people over the course of human history that have been told they couldn't do things and have gone away and done it. Just, maybe this team is going to be one of the teams that does it. Maybe we're going to be the Barcelona when Pep Guardiola or when Unai Emery was over PSG. Maybe we're the team that comes back from the dead and breaks PSG hearts. We won't know until next Tuesday. We absolutely won't. Is it likely? I don't know. It's up to every single person whether they think is likely or not. But it's a possibility. You know, it would have been a lot easier at 2-1 as opposed to 3-1. Where else are we here with some? Where else are we with some comments? That's taking a bit of a dark turn somewhere there. Ad says it's not over at all. Most dangerous scoreline in football is to be 2 goals up at halftime. I really think we do this at Villa Park, up the Villa. Absolutely. And in your head, change man, asks, are there any Pringles left in that can? There's none left in that can behind me, and there's none left in this can here beside me. Now, in fairness, there was only just a bare arse, so these ones left. But no, there's none left in that either. So, as I said, I'm a nervous eater. I'm very much a nervous eater. So I'll have to run it off tomorrow to try and fit into my suit for the wedding for sure. Where else are we? Rob Henry says, I don't accept any player deserves criticism tonight, nor Emery. We were just a little short away from home against the class team. And I don't, as I say, I don't even think that we were a little bit short. I certainly not. I know you're not talking, I hope you're not talking about me because I hope I'm not coming across as criticizing the team tonight or Emery at all. I know that comments, there's a ding-dong in the comments, which is fine. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. It's free area to talk here. For sure. I don't even think we came up a little bit short because the expectation was that we would like to go there and keep the game tight. But there was no given that we were going to keep the game tight, and we did. We went 1-0 up. But I absolutely agree with your sentiment there, Rob. I absolutely agree with your sentiment. They are a top class team. And I even though people will look at the box score afterwards and people will talk about it afterwards about PSG being great, and they are, I still kind of think that the 3-1 scoreline does flatter them considering the context of the goals that were scored and the good job that Villa did in their space work, in their structure, in their lineup, the way that they kept their spacing, they kept their shape work, should I say, sorry, not their space work, but they kept their spacing between midfield and defense and the defensive work that they did. It's just the scoreline doesn't reflect it, and that's only because of that last goal, And look, again, you have to play for 100 minutes. So it's not excuse making or anything like that. It's just how different a goal makes you feel in a 2-legged tie. For sure, but we can have can we absolutely do this? We'll find out next Tuesday for sure. Where else are we? Yeah, I don't know. Some people are saying that Paddy wasn't happy with the ref. Look, there was fouls there that we could have got that we didn't get. I've already said that I can have an argument with somebody over the yellow card. I can see how it was given. I don't see how it was given. But the ref doesn't have a tractor beam on the end of Desiree Doué's foot. The ref doesn't have a tractor. Doesn't have a tractor. A tractor engine at the end of Kershvale's foot when he bangs them in. I still think that there was a lot of good fortune in those 2 goals, but 2 great goals there. As I say, you make your own fortune. You have to take those shots. It's not me being sour over those 2 goals, but it's just talking context. Context to those 2 goals were hit really hard shots. There was no finesse or placement in those, no matter how. And look, the most ardent football fan or anybody who's played the game of football, you don't aim for it to go in off the crossbar, especially when you're off balance and you've been pushed by Morgan Rogers. But he took the shot and he had the confidence to take the shot and he wanted to go in that general area, and it did. Fair play to him. You have to take that shot. And it was a worldie of a goal. And, if Villa player scores it, I'm I bet we're seeing 10 different artists drawing the celebration for the goal, or Morgan Rogers being off balance for the goal that's shot behind the camera and everything like that, and we would celebrate it forever and ever more. Just like John Duran's goal against Bayern Munich. It was a hit and hope shot. He turned around, he saw it, he just kicked it. Couldn't have been 100% sure where it was going, but it went in the back of the net, and we celebrated it, and we saw it off the net from behind the goals. You know, so fair play. You have to take those shots. You absolutely have to take those shots. And when you do and they go in, you deserve all the plaudits. Absolutely deserve all the plaudits. But yeah, as I say, it's a different feeling being 3-1 down than it is being 2-1 down. And I know I've repeated that a couple of times. I feel like I'm repeating myself a small bit too much now. So might just end this post-match podcast. Sometimes it's difficult. It's difficult in the good times to do post-match podcasts on your own. And it can be difficult in times of trying to jump on and try and figure out what your emotions are directly afterwards without being too hyperbolic in a loss as well. But we'll still be here next Tuesday night. We'll still do a preview. We'll still do a team sheet tantrum. We'll still do a post-match podcast. And I can tell you one thing. If Aston Villa turn this around against Paris Saint-Germain, not one of us will give a fiddler's fuck about that goal in the 92nd minute. Not a fiddler's will we give if Villa turn this around. And if we somehow are celebrating next Tuesday night at 10:20, at 10:20 on the 15th of April, it could be pants off, run down the street kind of situation if Villa were to turn this around. And that's the beauty of sport. That is the beauty of sport. It's the great equalizer, it's the great leveler, it's the great emotional roller coaster that we have, where you know you can go and you can support it. You can have the best days of your life, you can have the worst days of your life, and then the next day you wake up and life actually continues. And until the final whistle is blown next Tuesday, Aston Villa are still a Champions League team. It's less likely they'll be in a Champions League team after the final whistle, after being 3-1 down. But hey, stranger things have happened. Stranger things have happened. Right, going to leave it at that. Thanks so much, everybody, for helping me to try and get my muddled thoughts together here. Thanks a million to everybody for, I suppose, giving me the space. If you expected me to be pounding the table and to be a bit more pissed off, I apologize. If you expected me to be full of energy and to be Mr. 400% optimistic, I do apologize as well. I'm just trying to figure it out as much as you guys are directly after the game. But saying that, we'll be back with a preview show, team sheet tantrum, and a post-match for Southampton at the weekend, and likewise for the return leg at Villa Park. Paddy's going to be over in Birmingham. Hopefully we'll get on to him before during the team sheet tantrum when he's over in Birmingham, and hopefully Villa go and turn this one around and give us the best European night in any of our lives that any of us have had. Well, anyone maybe outside of the people who are in Rotterdam, but anybody has had in recent memory, and that's still on the cards and that's still on the table. And I hope to God that come next Tuesday night we are celebrating that as well. Anyway, thanks very much, everybody, for your time. Thanks for this. It's been cathartic. We'll see you again over the next coming days. Remember, stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the Villa.